Hey, Swati, what's going on? Rob Cesternino, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Swati, can I ask you, what's on your wall? Do you have a survivor wall of photos like Zach?
I do not. I actually have the cheapest things that I could find on Amazon Prime that looked reasonably attractive. I'm a very messy person. I have zero decor. Like this is just like it looks so shitty. And I was like, something needs
Okay.
to go up here.
All right. Well, Swati, I want to talk about the game, which I'm not sure if you would define it that way. Looked like it got a little messy also from what we saw in the episode. Did you feel like that the edit was a fair depiction of how everything went down from what you experienced out there?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely a fair depiction, definitely of the chaos and of some of the reasons I got voted out. I think there are a couple of things that were like more immediate causes, like a couple of conversations that happened that weren't shown, but I wasn't necessarily a part of those conversations. I just observed them happening. So I can't really comment on exactly what was said, if that
Can
makes sense.
you tell us what you saw?
Yeah. So the day before tribal, Tori and Andrea were on the beach for like an hour, and afterwards they were both crying, and I was like, "What just happened?" And that was sort of the moment where I was like, "Oh, something here got messed up. Like something is wrong." And I still, to this day, I do not know what happened in that conversation. I was really hoping they would air it. But other than that, I feel like actually like a pretty accurate depiction of how things happened.
Swati, it seemed like that you were in a pretty safe spot based on what we saw from the first couple episodes. We saw when Drea came to you and wanted to talk to you about the Women's Alliance that you were very quick to say to Tori, hey, we should flip this around and vote out Drea. Why did you want to flip it on Drea so quickly?
I think there were some things that in my perception, like I don't want to cast aspersions on Andrea, but in my perception of the tribe, that I really did not like about what Drea was bringing to the experience. It was very controlled. Like for the first 3 days, we literally did not break off from this group of six, like ever. Like it was such a big deal when Tori went off on her own, because that was literally the only time that
Mm-hmm.
anyone went off on their own for like even a second. It was very controlled. And then Drea had like so much control and power over this game, and it also felt like she was sort of flopping on who she wanted out. Like sometimes she would be like, oh my God, we should get Roxroy out, he's annoying. Then sometimes like, oh, Tori, like she's really emotional. But then sometimes she would tell me like, oh, like no, Yumi and Tori should be in a girls' alliance. So it just felt very much like, okay, there's this person who has ultimate power and is just like so easily changing who they want out. Like what if they just say that they want out me? It felt very volatile and unstable. And looking back on it, like in hindsight 2020, like I definitely should have been more passive, definitely was too early in the game to say something. And I didn't really intend to make a move on Andrea so much as sow the seeds of doing so. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I definitely gave Tori way too much information when I did that. And that was definitely a mistake, as we can see.
Yeah. So we saw in the episode that you said to Romeo, "You're my number one." Drea, my number one. Tori, you're my number one. But I thought it was interesting that Roxroy, who that I had been sort of imagining might have been maybe your closest ally out there, based on some of the small conversations that we saw, didn't get a number one. But Roxroy seemed like he really wanted to go to bat for you last night. How close were you with Roxroy?
I was very, very close with Roxroy. I was initially really close with Tori, and I wanted to continue working with Tori in the game. I would say Roxroy and I were definitely the closest. Um, Definitely the time I got voted out, but like Roxroy was the person I was working with really closely, in addition to Tori. Romeo and Drea, in my defense, Drea told me she was my number one right before
They
that.
said it first. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they said it first, so it's just like seemed like the thing to do to say it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think either of them meant it when they said it to me, which is totally fine. Not that I think the edit was undeserved. I think the edit was super funny, and I mean accurate. I said those things, but yeah, I wasn't actually like I didn't feel close with Romeo or Drea particularly. It was literally like I think seconds before that clip, Drea had said, "You're my number one."
Mm-hmm. So we saw that you played the shot in the dark at the tribal council that we saw last night. At what point did you know, all right, I this is desperate times. I need to play the shot in the dark?
Yeah, I mean, I think I knew even then when everything happened, sort of the night before the challenge, that if we were to go to tribal the next day, like it would probably be me getting voted out. And so the entire day I was sort of like fighting for trying to get it to be me and not Tori. And like just going through like, oh my God, I made so many mistakes. Like, why are we here? But there was this brief conversation that Drea had 30 minutes before tribal with Romeo. And before then I was pretty sure like that they were going to vote out Tori. And then she went up to Romeo and she said, like, hey, can we talk? Or like, let's change the plan, even, I think might have been the words that she said. And in that moment, I was like, damn, they're changing the plan. That means they're voting out me now.
Did you feel any added pressure where you felt like that you were on the chopping block and then you were on that puzzle and it was really, neck and neck coming down to it? Were you feeling that as you were trying to put the puzzle together?
I was feeling a lot of pressure trying to put the puzzle together. And I would say that this is one moment where the tribe dynamic of Ika definitely contributed to our downfall, because I think me or Drea, like, were fine doing the puzzle, but together we were feeding so unhealthily off of each other's anxiety. And I think if we had had a little bit more trust within each other and the tribe, then it might have been easier to work together in that
Right.
moment.
The vibe of the tribe.
Yeah,
A lot of vibe talk last night.
the vibe was very, very chaotic. I don't think I ate like more than maybe a single bite the first 3 days before the challenge. Like it was that chaotic. Like we got so caught up in the paranoia on my tribe. And that's part of why we did so poorly in the challenge. Afterwards, we were like, have any of us eaten? Like what's happening? Like we need to take a moment and like eat. Like what's
You
happening?
forgot to eat, or everybody was so anxious that they couldn't eat?
Everybody literally was so caught up in the paranoia of the game that it just like didn't even
Wow.
result. We didn't even build a roof like my tribe. Like we literally, it was just like, because we didn't want to be apart. Like it was like all 6 of us have to be in the same place the entire time. It made it hard to get anything done. And then everyone would stay up late in the night talking. That was horrible. I just wanted to go to sleep, but we had like this, all 6 of us have to, so it was like nobody could go to sleep until like everybody wanted to go to sleep, you know?
And you felt like that was coming more from Drea.
That is definitely how I felt. I felt
Yeah.
like that vibe was coming from Drea. I felt like a lot of the times people were talking, it was just like me sitting there listening to Drea talk. And some other people too, some of the other older people too. So and it's not, again, to say anything negative about Drea. I think it's just like, it's a 19-year-old girl. And I'm just like sitting here being told what to do and listening to other people talk. And I played very unwisely, but I think that's sort of the emotional reason for it.
Why did Roxroy sit out of the reward challenge?
I think it was because we didn't want him to sit out of the immunity challenge. I think that was the biggest reason. And also just seems like this was like nimble, like it's better if you're smaller, although Jonathan the Amazing it's even better for him.
Yeah. Did you have any hard feelings towards Tori, who you had been working closely with, and then it did seem like that she threw you under the bus pretty hard, or did you just feel like that she just did what she needed to do to save herself?
I mean, she did what she needed to do to save herself, and it was definitely my fault for giving her so much information, I would say. But I mean, yeah, I mean, after getting voted out, it was hard not to be bitter, right? Like this is like my dream. But I would say now, like I think Tori's great. Like I don't have any hard feelings.
Did you feel any sort of remorse of we should have kept Zach?
Oh, almost instantaneously, even before it happened at tribal. Like I was like, I really like Zach, blah, blah, blah. I'm so tragic that we went to tribal council in the first 3 days. And I'm just like watching myself throw out Zach's name and thinking like, in that moment, it felt like, okay, we should keep the tribe strong. And also like me and Zach hadn't bonded as much at that point as like me and Roxroy. So it didn't feel necessarily like, oh, like I should push to keep Zach. But I think really being this like college student on this tribe with mostly older people was very difficult. It was difficult to really relate to people in a sort of equal way. Like I think part of the reason that the "oh, you're my number one" thing moment became such a big deal, part of it was all the chaos that led up to it. And I think part of it was just like everyone was doing this, but no one expected that I was doing this.
Mhm.
So I think that's partially what
Yeah.
shocked people.
In talking with you and Zach and watching the episodes, I think I've heard every single person's name in your tribe mentioned as somebody who was being targeted, except for Romeo. Has anybody in your 9 days, did you feel that anybody was ever trying to target Romeo?
Yeah, Rox wanted Romeo out. Rox wanted Romeo out, and he didn't come out and like say it to everybody, but he would like just like keep mentioning it anytime that we were talking. I think Rox really valued like strength and hard work, and so because Romeo was a weaker member of her tribe, he very much wanted him out.
Did, after last night's episode, has Boston Rob reached out to you to say thank you for shouting him out in the episode in your final words?
He is not. He probably will not, given that it was wrong. But no, I hope he does though. That'd be so sick to talk to Boston Rob.
That would be pretty epic.
Yeah, that would be pretty epic. Though this is also very epic.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. As far as being a young person on the show, you had a really fun secret scene a couple of weeks ago, talking about all the different musical acts that you didn't know. Was the tribe constantly quizzing you on what you knew and didn't know from a pop culture standpoint?
I don't know that it lasted beyond that day, but that day definitely, like, Rox just kept asking. I think part of it is a young person thing. I think part of it is just like I can be just more pop culture unaware than your average person. So actually, yeah, this has been a topic of conversation in my life very much.
Yeah. Coming in after being a big fan of the show, what was the biggest thing that was a surprise for you in the new era of Survivor?
That's a great question. I would say that most of the new era twists weren't things that I actually got to experience while I was out on the show. So I would say my answer to this is actually just like a general Survivor thing, which is I didn't anticipate how much waiting there would be, how much just like time there is for the anxiety and paranoia to build. That was a really interesting experience. I can remember even now, like I was out there for 9 days only, but like I can remember what that headspace felt like. It wasn't like a super happy or pretty place to be.
Yeah, there could be a lot of downtime out there.
There's a lot of downtime. Oh my God.
For sure. Is there anything else about your experience that you want the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast to know?
I guess just that like I'm really grateful that I got to do it. It was super cool. I got to see myself on this show that I love, and yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah.
Swati, thank you so much for making some time to talk to us today. That you played things just didn't go your way, but keep your head up because you played hard.
Thank you, Rob. Lovely to meet you.
All the best to you, Swati. Take care. Okay, bye.